Is the Microbeau Apollo SMP tattoo machine the one you should put in your studio, or is it a case of nice looking but not quite right for the everyday artist? Who's going to get the most out of its design? Who might be better off with a different setup? And does the price make sense when you compare it to the alternatives you see on the market? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. But before you click, let's walk through what really matters when you're choosing a machine you'll be handling all day, week after week. First off, let's talk about the kind of work the Apollo SMP is built for. The name SMP stands for Single Mode Power, a term the manufacturer uses to describe a setup that's meant to stay consistent across a range of needle groupings without the need for constant tweaking. For a tattoo artist who does a lot of line work and shading in one session, that consistency can be a real time saver. It means you can start a piece, change from a 3-round liner to a 7-round shader, and the machine will stay in the same ballpark of voltage and depth without you having to dial in a new circuit every time. In a busy shop that does walk-ins and short appointments, that smooth transition can keep the flow moving and reduce the downtime that comes from fiddling with the machine. On the flip side, if you're a custom piece specialist who likes to spend an hour or more fine-tuning your settings for each unique design, the single-mode approach might feel a little restrictive. Some artists love to experiment with coil tension or rotary speed to get that perfect pop on a specific color gradient. The Apollo SMP doesn't give you a lot of room to play with those micro-adjustments because it's engineered to stay stable rather than to be a sandbox for tinkering. So if you thrive on that level of control, you might find yourself reaching for a more modular machine that lets you swap out coils or change motor speeds on the fly. Now, let's dig into how the machine feels in the hand. The Apollo SMP comes with a fairly lightweight housing that many reviewers have noted makes it easy to hold for extended periods without wrist fatigue. In a real-world setting, that matters when you're doing a full sleeve that can last 4 or 5 hours. The ergonomics are such that you can keep a relaxed grip, which translates into smoother lines and less shaking, especially important for delicate work like lettering or tiny script. However, that lightness can also be a double-edged sword. Some artists who are used to the heft of a traditional coil machine say they miss the anchoring sensation that a heavier body gives them. The feedback from the machine can feel a bit floaty if you're accustomed to that solid, grounded feel. It's not a flaw, just a different tactile experience. Power delivery is another practical point. The Apollo SMP runs on a standard 12-volt power supply, which most studios already have, and it reportedly delivers a steady, clean line without the buzz that some lower-end rotary machines introduce. In day-to-day use, that consistency shows up when you're doing tight shading. The needle penetrates the skin uniformly, so you don't get those little spikes where the machine briefly surges and overdeposits pigment. For a new artist still mastering depth perception, that steadiness can be a huge confidence booster. But there's a hidden trade-off. Because the machine aims for a smooth output, you lose a bit of the punch that some seasoned artists appreciate for thick, solid fills. If your style leans heavily on bold, saturated color blocks, you might need to work a little harder or pair the Apollo with a higher output power pack to get the same coverage speed you'd get from a more aggressive coil rig. What about maintenance? The Apollo SMP's design keeps the moving parts relatively exposed, which makes cleaning between clients straightforward. You can wipe down the housing, spray the needle bar with disinfectant, and you're set. That simplicity is a real win for a high-turnover shop where you're swapping clients every 20 minutes. On the downside, the exposed internals also mean the machine is a bit more vulnerable to accidental knocks or drops. A few users have mentioned that they've had to retighten a screw or two after a rough transport, something you wouldn't worry about as much with a sealed coil machine. If you travel to conventions or move the kit around a lot, you'll want to keep a small screwdriver in your bag just in case. Let's talk price. The Apollo SMP sits in the mid-range segment, more expensive than entry-level rotary machines you might see on a discount site, but noticeably cheaper than high-end custom coil rigs that come with a boutique price tag. Considering the 4.6-star rating from 22 verified buyers, you're getting a product that most people feel meets their expectations for reliability and ease of use. The value proposition really shines if you're a professional who needs a dependable workhorse without breaking the bank, or a serious hobbyist who wants